Hey traders, I thought I would just make a video to discuss how to trade a slow day. First of all, you don't know it's a slow day until a few hours in, but you'll have that knowledge when you see those candlesticks in the range. It's not moving that much. But first of all, I have these lines set up because that's actually the support and resistance that we'll see here from those first two candles, our first 10 minutes. The blue line is actually the resistance from the day before, and the fuchsia line is the support from the day before, just to get an idea of potential range compared to Friday. This happened to be a Monday. And so let's see if this matches up here. Okay, so that's the first 5 minutes. I don't recommend anybody trading in those first 5 minutes. In fact, that could have been a trap for somebody because the PSAR was showing calls at this point. So you can just see, unless you have pre-market hours turned on, but that can be a false indicator sometimes. But anyways, this right here is now serving as a resistance. And so we're just watching that. If you had entered your puts, is it honoring that resistance line along the way? And so a good reminder is, as we're looking at all of these, the first thing we're looking for is the candlesticks. We're diagnosing all of those as far as are they confirming above or below support and resistance. And then the next thing we're looking for is the parabolic stop and reverse, that would be a confirmation with the PSAR dot. And then we will also see things of like moving under VWAP. That's this yellow line right here. So you can see moving under VWAP is definitely a bearish sign. And then we're also looking at the clouds. If the green, that's the 8 EMA, and I have them kind of set up over here. It's not going to show it, but the 8 EMA, if that is showing on top of the 20, that's a bullish sign. So today, this move right here is still looking bullish because we're comparing it to Friday's action. But we'll see right here. That's why we're looking at candlesticks first, and we'll see how this goes throughout the next few hours. So there we go. As that was honoring that resistance up here, it had a big move down. Always want to sell into strength and then set your stop loss. So I had my stop loss set right there, and that was helpful for me because you could see this had a pretty strong, I guess I wouldn't say strong, but it had a move up where it definitely is showing that down here is our support. It does not want to go really any lower than this support right here. And so now we've got that move across our resistance line and a move across VWAP, and we've got the 820 clouds crossing, and the PSAR is just about ready to switch over. So calls are in play right now, and we don't know how far it's going to go. So what we're doing is we're in on these calls, and we're first making sure that it holds above that white line, that's that previous resistance. Is now support. So that was resistance, and now as I just hover over here, you can see it's hanging out above that, and you can see we're getting space here with our 820 clouds. So what I do is I would sell into strength, and then I want to put my stop right underneath the wicks of the previous candles right there, which is really this support resistance line. Okay, so we can draw that out further here. You can see it just keeps honoring that. I think that is, just when you think that stocks might not be predictable, you can see what was previous resistance is now support. So my stop is right underneath here. But then I'm watching that it's kind of bumping up here against the previous day's resistance. And I want to make sure that I take my profits and I'm not holding a bag. It came down, it kind of tested that 8, but you can see it's really bumping up against that resistance there. And it's just what we would call a slow day. We're now at 11 o'clock and we don't have much range on the day. So this is where we want to honor our time. And one thing you could do is you could actually, if you were using the TradingView software, you can actually click on the the actual website. I'm on the app right now, and you can actually get a PSAR alert signal right there where if that switches over, it could send it to your phone if you wanted it to. You can also, if you're using a software that can send you alerts, you can put um, an alert if it gets below the 20 EMA at this point, and if it gets above this resistance. Above here would calls would be in play, and below here then puts would be in play. So we're getting closer to that noon hour, and we're really not getting much action at all. You're going to see right there, a switch has occurred, and that's not a bad time to enter puts because it's below that resistance line. And so ideally, you'd want to get it, if it comes right back up here, you'd want to be able to get your puts placed in right up there if it comes and touches up against that blue line again. Um, you just, you don't want to assume that it's going down just because the dots showed up. But that would be something that somebody could have done. And this is why I list VWAP up here, because if it comes down here and if it breaks down below VWAP, then it could be bleeding further. However, in the last couple of days, we've seen that it's really honored VWAP and it's had a bit of a bounce. So as you're watching here, just know, like, VWAP is not Bigfoot. It is a real thing. Some traders just think it's just a line, but it literally stands for volume weighted average price. And so the volume that's coming in, as it's weighted against the average price, it's above the average price. And that's why we're seeing that it's going up. So this move down, and depending on like the settings on how you're looking at this, that was a fairly significant candle when you compare that to the rest. However, it just bounced because it hit VWAP. Sellers weren't ready to let those, I'm sorry, the buyers weren't ready to let those sellers take over. So now we're at that noon hour. I have an alert set on my phone at 1 o'clock Central Time where it will just tell me, look for a possible algo switch at this time of the day. Right now, we're not seeing it at all. You could have your alert set. You could walk away from your screen and just let the machine do the work for you. We're getting closer to 1 o'clock, hoping that we could see some kind of action here. But usually in the Nasdaq, there are two moves to make in a day. If you're patient, you just enter in and you enter your stops. And so right here, there's really no play that anybody should be making at this point. But we're waiting to see if there might be some kind of algo switch, or this one was a tricky one. It got below VWAP, but you can just tell it did not want to stay below that. So if you look at these next candles, somebody could have bought puts, but then you got to make sure you set your stop because you would have gotten stopped out. It bounced above that, pretty well. All right, getting closer to about an hour left in the day. And this is where I usually notice with about an hour left or 45 minutes left, we might see something just like that. Big candle popping up. And at that point, I actually had my alert set right above these two candles, where I just thought if it gets above these two candles, that's previous resistance. I want to enter in, because if you're looking at that and you're looking left, that candle is significantly stronger than what we've been seeing with these little teeny tiny doji candles. And so calls are in play right now. You're going to see it's going to bump up against the previous day's resistance here, and it's going to hover in this area for a while. But I'll put a picture down here to show you a couple of things. These are the RSI of basically the top NASDAQ stocks, so the Facebook, Amazon, Tesla, Microsoft, Google, Netflix. And I started to see that the RSI of these started to jump above 62 and somewhere in the 70s. That's where I'm patiently waiting. I'm in, and I'm believing that that move will last for at least 15 minutes, if not more. They're not going anywhere because they're hitting some resistance from the day before. And just always look at Apple, because Apple is, I'll put that picture down here. Apple is almost 10% of the NASDAQ. So NASDAQ kind of goes as Apple goes. for better or worse. And so we're still hitting up against this resistance here. Everything we're seeing in that RSI says that it should break through. And when it breaks through, on a slow day especially, I'm looking to sell into some strength right now, because that one could have been the end of the move. It wasn't, but I'm looking to sell some of my contracts into strength, because right now we really only have about 5 minutes left, and well, that was the end of our day, and you don't want to be left holding the bag. So to sell here might be better for your mental state than to try to wait here and try to get, squeeze as much as you can out of it. So there were two trades to be made, big ones, this one, and then the beginning of the day had, really, well, actually, I suppose there were three trades that could have been made. You could have made this trade here, and then when it broke above right here, and you could have entered calls. Patience is the key. I hope you're green today. If not, you will be tomorrow.